Good evening. It's Friday, April 10th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabolsi, and we are broadcasting remotely tonight. And we begin with new numbers in the battle against the coronavirus. And sadly, they involve more local deaths and cases. San Diego County officials now confirm 65 new COVID-19 cases in the county and 4 new deaths, raising the local totals to 1,693 cases and 44 deaths. As KPBS reporter John Carroll tells us, there's a new way to track how well San Diegans are following stay-at-home orders.
Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says data from Google shows San Diegans are going out less often, taking less public transportation, all good signs. But cell phone data from a company called Unicast shows we've still got some work to do. Though the state gets a B, San Diego County didn't do so well. We got a C+, the same as Los Angeles.
I know in San Diego, we live in a mantra of beat LA, and we got a little bit of work to do here over the next week to get our score higher than Los Angeles.
Today, the governor spent a lot of time talking about the most vulnerable Californians, those in skilled nursing facilities, also known as nursing homes. There are a little more than 1,200 of them in the state, and in some of them, there's a problem.
We currently have 191 facilities that we're monitoring because we have patients and staff that have come with the infection that are tested positive for COVID-19. That represents 1,266 individuals.
The state also licenses nearly 7,500 small homes, mostly housing Medi-Cal patients. They're currently monitoring 94 of those facilities, where 370 patients and staff are positive for the virus. Newsom says the state is trying to prevent the catastrophes that have happened at other such facilities across the nation. The governor says the state is deploying what are essentially medical SWAT teams to keep a handle on the situation.
Individuals, infectious control professionals that are working with the CDC and others to saturate those areas of concern and focus. We've basically put more personnel, more technical assistance, focusing on infectious disease control and really doing what we can to decompress that entire system.
The governor says the hospital ship Mercy, now docked in Los Angeles, along with 7 other sites across the state, are helping by taking non-COVID patients to relieve the strain on hospitals treating those who are infected. The state's Director of Health and Human Services, Dr. Mark Galley, showed some charts that make very clear how important it is to follow social distancing and hand washing, etc. This chart shows what it would have looked like if we'd done no mitigation. Instead, we're currently following the line along the bottom. On Sunday, many Californians will celebrate Easter. The governor says he knows it'll be an especially hard time to keep socially distant, but he urged everyone to do just that, to keep the progress of flattening the curve going. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Top medical experts are warning Americans to brace for what could be a deadly coronavirus weekend. At the same time, though, there is encouraging news that social distancing is working, even leading the president to discuss reopening the economy. Camila Bernal has the latest developments in the battle against COVID-19.
As Americans prepare for a holiday weekend, health experts telling people they should continue to practice social distancing.
I know, particularly in a season like the Easter season and Passover, how difficult that is. But we really need to do it because it is working.
In the midst of grief and pain, we're seeing clear signs that our aggressive strategy is saving countless lives.
But Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, says it's not time to declare victory.
The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get out there prematurely and then wind up you're back in the same situation.
That's why stay-at-home orders remain in place around the country and why officials are trying to prevent outbreaks like the one in New York State, now reporting more coronavirus cases than any other place in the world.
The bad news is we continue to lose a tremendous number of lives and endure great pain as a state.
Dr. Fauci indicating that just as the death toll peaks in New York and around the country, the number of hospitalizations will drop. He also continues to say that how the virus spreads will determine the timeline to reopen the country.
Now is the time to actually put your foot on the accelerator because we're going in the right direction. Let's keep in that direction.
Camila Bernal, KPBS News.
A storm slammed our county today, bringing flooding and dangerous road conditions as well. A man was killed and his 2 teenage children were taken to the hospital after he crashed his car into a tree in Carmel Valley this morning. In Mission Valley, several roads were underwater and a hotel had to be evacuated. Firefighters made several rescues on rafts, including this one in Escondido. They're warning everyone not to drive through flooded areas or around barricades. We'll have more on the storm coming up in your weekend forecast. And the pounding rain did not stop hundreds of local families from lining up for hours to get much-needed food and essential items at an early morning food distribution site. KPBS reporter Shalina Chatlani looks at the growing needs throughout our communities.
Cars line up for a San Diego food bank pop-up in Chula Vista. Workers toss 25 pounds worth of food and toilet paper in the back of cars so that people can stay socially distanced.
We were feeding about 350,000 people a month before the crisis. We're projecting we're going to probably feed 600,000 people this month.
Jim Floro, CEO of the San Diego Food Bank, says they've been doing these mass distributions in different locations to shorten lines at its primary distribution centers. The last one happened in Del Mar last week.
People who've never been in need before, there's people who've never asked for help before, are now needing the help of the San Diego Food Bank.
Like Chula Vista resident Ricardo Hernandez, who says he's not able to find work and he has kids to feed.
Because of the crisis, we're limited in being able to work. We can't leave. We're locked in our houses, and now I have to take advantage of whatever help people give.
The site opened at 9 a.m., but before 8, there were already more people lined up than could be served. Only the first 1,000 were able to get food.
I wake up at 5 o'clock and thinking of getting here early. I was surprised. There's a long line already when I come here.
But Food Bank CEO Floro says they're planning on having another large distribution this month. In the meantime, he says residents who don't make it to the mass distribution can still get food at the food bank's 200 distribution sites across the county. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
It's hard to know now what long-term impacts the coronavirus pandemic will have on students. But as schools make an unprecedented pivot to distance learning, many teachers are feeling overwhelmed. More now from KPBS education reporter Joe Hong.
What I love so much I can't do, which is be with my kids.
Kristen Brown is a first grade teacher at Silvergate Elementary School. She's at home, but her work days are as long and often longer than they were when schools were open.
It seems funny that it would be more work to not be with my kids, but it is more work to not be with my kids than it is to be with my kids.
Brown's students submit written assignments as well as recordings, and she needs to carefully read and listen to each one to make sure they understand the material.
I mean, at school, I can see their learning in their eyes. I can see it, I can walk past their desk and I can know if they got it or not. And that takes me the blink of an eye.
Like teachers across the country, those in San Diego County are struggling to manage the logistical and emotional challenges of distance learning in the coronavirus era.
I have their birthday chart up, I have notes from them, and I'm going to put their pictures up next.
Chris Hidalgo is a first grade teacher at Finney Elementary in Chula Vista.
My husband said, "You worked a long time yesterday." I said, "Yeah, I worked till almost 10 last night. And I'm going to do that because that's what I need to do for my kids."
But Brown and Hidalgo agree that no technology can substitute a teacher in the classroom.
And so I've been talking to the parents and the kids, which is really nice. They all miss school. They're asking me, "When do we get to come back?" And I said, "Not yet. Maybe soon. I'm hoping soon."
Joe Hong, KPBS News.
The city of San Diego has backed off a plan that would have left hundreds of city workers without pay. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler says this comes after some pushback from the union representing the workers.
Last Friday, the city told at least 800 of its workers that had not been deemed essential to the city's pandemic response that unless they took paid leave starting last Monday, they wouldn't be paid. This led to a grievance from the Municipal Employees Association, which represents many city workers. The union said such an action, even during an emergency, broke state labor law. After a week of negotiations, the city has agreed to restore the salaries of all impacted city employees and to give them back pay to last Monday. In a statement on its website, the union said, "The bottom line is that if you are willing and able to work, you will continue to get full pay." The union made clear, however, that employees who typically work in the libraries or parks department might be reassigned during the pandemic. Reassigned city employees have been working at the city's newly established homeless shelter at the Downtown Convention Center and helping to close city parks and parking lots. Max Rivlin-Adler, KPBS News.
Coming together while being forced to stay apart? Well, that is the challenge facing local religious communities during these holy days. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
Grant, we pray.
Social distancing will keep churches from filling up this Sunday, but it's not stopping the celebration of Easter.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen. San Diego County's nearly 1 million Catholics got dispensation to miss in-person Mass, but they don't have to go without. The diocese is delivering services like this one from Thursday on their website.
The Eucharist is not lost. It is still celebrated. And even as we think of the reality that we are unable to celebrate the washing of the feet, which is a symbol or an act of charity, think of the many people who have found ways to act charitably, even though they were in their own homes.
The San Diego Diocese had hoped to keep churches open when the governor ordered strict social distancing rules a few weeks ago, but that has changed.
We're doing everything we can, whether it's through the schools or through our parishes, to stay closed and promote the best practices we can with respect to, the shutdown orders.
How you doing, Rock family? God bless y'all. God bless y'all.
Pastor Miles McPherson says San Diego's Rock Church has been ministering to its congregation online for weeks. He says he wants to keep a personal connection and offer hope.
They're realizing that they need God more than ever before. I think society realizes that, the banking system, the stock market, their jobs, the way we do life is not dependable.
The parking lots and the church pews may be empty this Sunday at churches around San Diego County, but many will be reaching out on the internet. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
And we're following all of the latest coronavirus developments for you at kpbs.org. Just click on the Tracking COVID-19 link on our homepage, and you'll be taken to a page with all of our recent reports. You can find that right now at kpbs.org. And the rain has been pouring down all day across the county and in the mountains. We got snow. Take a look at the view from the Laguna Mountain Lodge. The storm system is expected to leave by tonight. Jeff Cornish has your weekend forecast.
We've had quite the storm over the past several days in Southern California. Taking a look at some of these numbers here, Lytle Creek's 9.7-inch rain total is very impressive from this past 6 days. We do have some minor flooding along the San Diego River. It appears that the river is less than a foot above flood stage along most of its journey. A lot of spots seeing a crest probably about 6 inches above the true flood stage, so minor flooding is a classification there. San Diego itself, you had 1.16 inches of rain on Thursday, calendar day. That's a daily rainfall record. Snow levels today are around 4,500 to 5,000 feet this evening. Mountain High Ski Resort, 34 inches of snow reported there. And by the way, in San Jacinto, our high temperature on Thursday was 52. That's a record coolest high temperature for the date by 5 degrees. And the books go back there almost a century, so pretty impressive. A little more than a century in some areas, seeing record cool high temperatures. Still, we're dealing with that significant rain, ongoing flooding here, flood warning to the south, flood watch remains in effect to the north, and the snow is still an issue. Winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories will be winding down tonight. Overnight tonight, we're on track for 54 in San Diego. Still some periods of rain out there. The showers are going to be decreasing, though, as the giant pinwheel of low pressure moves inland. We'll still hold on to some occasional showers across the deserts and areas to the east into the mountains as well. A little bit of light snow at times, but this is gradually winding down, drying out for Southern California. Most of the rain moves away to the east on Saturday, and we'll be looking at a decent day tomorrow. Nice to see some sunshine return. 66 in Escondido. Into Saturday, you can see a very warm setup across the region temperature-wise as well. So the coastal forecast, Maybe a little bit of mist in the morning on Easter Sunday, 64 for the coast. Some sunshine for Tuesday and Wednesday. Inland areas, patchy drizzle or mist in the morning on Sunday, but most areas are certainly trending drier compared to where we have been. And you can see maybe a brief lingering shower to the mountains on Saturday, but into the deserts, turning brighter, turning warmer back into the mid-80s on Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
The downtown San Diego Library is using its resources to fight the coronavirus. While the library is closed to the public, a dozen of its 3D printers are being used to print face shields for local hospitals. They're a piece of personal protective equipment that's in high demand and in short supply. The printers can produce about 50 face shields a day or 300 a week. And an extra benefit, they're biodegradable and reusable. There's a new international effort to find a COVID-19 treatment, and it's headquartered here in San Diego. Researchers at La Jolla Institute for Immunology are leading a global hunt for antibodies. KPBS health reporter Taryn Mento finds out how it will all work.
First thing, what are antibodies? The La Jolla Institute's Erica Ullman-Sapphire explains they're like your own personal defense system. I reached her over Zoom.
So they are what your own immune system makes to attack a foreign invader like a virus and destroy it, and to signal the rest of your immune system that there's a threat there to be neutralized.
She's leading the newly launched Coronavirus Immunotherapy Consortium, or COVIC, to find the best antibodies to create a treatment. She's done it before in response to the Ebola outbreak. This effort is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The goal of the collaboration is to sift through antibodies created in labs, but mostly those produced by humans who have survived the virus.
How are we actually going to be able to take antibodies from humans who have beaten the virus and use that to study how we can manufacture it for widespread distribution?
What we are going to do is receive those samples and do what's called blinding, meaning everything gets given a code name to make it very fair. Instead of the antibody's real name, they're all going to be called COVID 123 548. Then we're going to send identical box sets of the world's array of antibodies out to different participating analysis labs. Each of them are using a different kind of technique.
Some may examine how antibodies attach to the virus, while others look at how they deactivate it. Sapphire says the Institute will assess results from dozens of partners. But so far, they've only publicly announced Duke University and companies in the Bay Area and Canada. The Institute will then pick the best antibody therapy and recommend it to funders like the World Health Organization or the Gates Foundation. It sounds simple, but the La Jolla Institute's Shane Crotty says it isn't easy work.
How do you figure out the best antibody? Which ones are the best? And a really good antibody is 1,000 times better than an okay antibody. Okay, there's enormous range of functionalities.
Even when they do find the right antibodies and create a therapy, that treatment doesn't last forever.
The antibodies only last a while after the injection, just like any drug, essentially, right? There's a time window where it acts, and antibodies are great. Great drugs because they'll last for 3 weeks or more, so they can really. It's not like taking a Tylenol that works for like 4 hours, but it's still a short-term solution.
So while Sapphire is working on injecting antibodies as a treatment, Crotty is tapping into that research to develop a vaccine. That's what teaches our cells how to make our own antibodies.
It sounds like Erica is working on the short-term way to address coronavirus, and you will be participating in the consortium by looking at the long-term way to address coronavirus.
Yeah, that's right, generally speaking.
On the flip side, Sapphire says vaccines take much longer than antibody therapy to provide protection against a virus.
You get your immunity 4 to 8 weeks after receiving the vaccine. Well, that's great for a virus that you expect to encounter 4 to 8 weeks from now. But if you need immunity now, delivering it in this way can do that for you today.
Still, today is many months away at least. The earliest that any of the partners would be expected to reach human clinical trials with their antibody therapies would be by June. And the Institute is going to want to look at everyone's results to be able to find the very best treatment. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
A statewide temporary eviction ban seeks to give a bit of financial security to renters affected by COVID-19. But landlords say they're not getting much help. iNewsSource reporter Cody Delaney has more.
When tenants can't pay their rent, it puts landlords in a bind. They have mortgages to pay and properties to maintain. Escondido residents Barry and Sharon Herbst invested their retirement savings into 20 rental units in Spring Valley, La Mesa, and National City. Now they fear they may lose it all.
This is a horrible situation for everybody. Nobody wants to see anybody out on the street. Nobody is going to win in this situation. My biggest concern is that the government seems to be putting all of the onus on the apartment owners to carry the burden.
Local rental property owners want elected officials to give them some kind of economic relief, and they're going to need it, says University of San Diego real estate professor Norm Miller.
Some of the landlords will be in financial difficulty, and some of them might even run into default problems and hope somehow they can work it out and hold on to the properties.
Miller says this recession will be much deeper than the one in 2008, but the recovery could be quicker. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Cody Delaney.
And iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. Californians struggling to find work will get an extra $600 in weekly unemployment benefits. The additional money comes from the federal stimulus package and will last 4 months. The first payment is going out Sunday to those with already processed claims. Despite the record-breaking unemployment claims nationwide, a majority of layoffs here in San Diego are yet to come. That's according to a report by the San Diego Regional Economic Development Corporation. A 3-week survey of local companies found while some are still hiring, more than half plan to eliminate over 14,000 jobs. This week, we also saw a CEO shakeup at SeaWorld, which remained closed due to COVID-19. SDSU's Miro Kopik weighed in for today's Friday Business Report.
SeaWorld is just the fourth CEO in 5 years just resigned this week. Serge Rivera, who was the CEO, left after 5 months, saying he had disagreements with the board. The previous CEO, Gus Antorcha, left after 7 months with the same comment. Disagreements with the board. One of the challenges that SeaWorld is going to have is bringing in somebody that's new. And the reason why is because they're still kind of in turnaround mode after the whole blackfish situation. One of the challenges that SeaWorld is going to have coming out of this is really bringing in visitors. But San Diego, for example, is a good example because we bring a lot of local visitors. So you're going to see when the park is going to be able to open sometime later in the summer, that there's going to be a lot of focus on bringing in local tourists rather than really pushing for outside tourists because they need to maintain that traffic.
Light it blue. That's what landmarks around the country are doing to honor those on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic. More than 100 buildings in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and many other places participated last night. It was a show of support, not just for those working tirelessly in hospitals, but also grocery stores and other essential services. And grocery shopping is one of the essential trips out of the house we still have to make during the stay-at-home order. And even if you have items delivered, there are things you can do to limit your potential exposure to the virus. Mandy Gaither has more.
Whether you do it in store or online, grocery shopping could lead to exposure, but experts say there are ways to limit that risk. While the CDC has said there's a very low risk of transmission of the virus from food packaging, studies have shown the virus can survive on some surfaces. The amount of time varies from hours to days, depending on the surface. So wiping down cans, glass containers, or cardboard boxes of food with a disinfectant wipe can't hurt. You can create a dirty space where you clean and a clean space to put the groceries after you've wiped them down. Remember to wash produce with water as you normally would. You can also throw away used grocery bags or wash and sanitize reusable bags. Clean any surface touched by the groceries or grocery bags. And as always, after you're done, make sure you wash your hands. For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And if you could use some advice on how to stay sane while sheltering in place, who better to turn to than the astronauts aboard the International Space Station? Here's what NASA astronaut Andrew Morgan suggests.
I think one of the most important things is to live by a routine. That's what we do up here. We have a schedule and we follow it to the T and make sure that we're the most efficient and most effective with our time, our exercise, our personal hygiene, our sleep. And then I think another aspect that we practice regularly up here that applies very well to the situation on Earth right now is being a good crewmate and thinking about how your actions affect the actions of others. It's something we do all the time up here and constantly evaluating to make sure that we're respectful of others at all times, and that can be very tough to do when you're living for a long time in close quarters.
And Morgan and Jessica Meir, who, by the way, is a UC San Diego alumna, will return to Earth a week from today. Meir says it will be difficult not to be able to hug her family and friends after 7 months in space. An update now on our top story. San Diego City, county, and religious leaders are urging everyone celebrating Passover and Easter to practice their faiths by physical distancing and staying at home. Today, county health officials confirmed 65 new COVID-19 cases and 4 new deaths. That raises the local total to nearly 1,700 cases and 44 deaths. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Stay safe and good night.